I drop my hospital badge on the kitchen counter, still wearing blue scrubs from my 12-hour shift. Every muscle aches, but Nina will be hungry. Freezer door open, I scan for something quick: chicken tenders, frozen vegetables, good enough. Nora, could you come in here? Dad's voice floats from the dining room, carrying that artificial calm that always precedes trouble. Just a minute. I slide the chicken into the microwave, punch in 3 minutes. Starting dinner for Nina. This can't wait. I'm Addo. The microwave hums as I shuffle toward the dining room, still in my compression socks. Mom and Dad sit at opposite ends of the rectangular oak table, a formal arrangement we normally reserve for Thanksgiving or when Pastor Miller visits. Papers spread between them, crisp white against the scarred wood. Nina's wheelchair is positioned at the fourth side. Dad's gray-flecked mustache twitches when I enter. Sit down. No greeting, no "how was your shift," just the command. I lower myself into the remaining chair, noting Mom's pinched expression and the way Nina studies her hands folded in her lap. "What's going on?" I ask, trying to ignore the dread pooling in my stomach. Dad slides a document toward me, his signet ring catching the overhead light. "Your mother and I are getting older. We need to formalize the arrangements for Nina's care." I scan the first page. Caregiver agreement stretches across the top in bold letters. Further down, responsible party, Nora Ann Reed. I don't understand. "It's simple," Mom says, voice soft but unyielding. "You'll cash out your $401 to create a care fund for Nina. Then you'll contribute $2,000 monthly toward her ongoing expenses." The room tilts slightly. $2,000? Every month? Dad leans forward, fingers steepled. "You make 70 grand as a nurse. That's over 4,000 a month. We're only asking for half." "But my student loans, my rent?" "Don't hide behind student loans." Mom cuts in, suddenly sharp. "You've got 60 grand in your 401. Cash it out, you'll get at least 40,000 after taxes." My hands start trembling. I press them flat against the table, fighting the nausea climbing my throat. This seems very sudden. "Bae." "Nothing sudden about it," Dad says. "You've been responsible for your sister since the accident. Now we're just putting it in writing." I stare at the papers. My name repeated throughout. Responsible party. Financial obligations. Legally binding. My vision blurs around the edges as I try to process what's happening. "Sign today, and we can file the paperwork tomorrow," Dad adds, pushing a pen toward me. Memory flashes. 16-year-old me sitting on Nina's hospital bed, braiding her hair while machines beep around us. "I'll always take care of you." "I promise then," voice breaking. "This is all my fault, but I'll fix it somehow." Nina's eyes catch mine across the table now, then slide away. She hasn't spoken a word. Why is this all on me? The question comes out smaller than intended. "We're all family." Dad's face hardens. "Because you're the reason she's in that wheelchair." The familiar knife of guilt twists deeper, but beneath it stirs something new, a question I've never allowed myself to voice. 11 years of this, and now you want it in writing? "The arrangement has always been clear," Mom says, smoothing invisible wrinkles from the tablecloth. "You chose to feed stray cats instead of walking Nina to the bus stop. Your irresponsibility cost her everything." Each word lands with practiced precision. I've heard this story thousands of times. 14-year-old Nina missed her bus because I wasn't there to walk her. She tried to catch it at the next stop, crossed the street without looking, and a delivery truck couldn't stop in time. My fault. Always my fault. I need time to think about this. My voice steadies unexpectedly. Dad's eyebrows shoot up. "There's nothing to think about. You owe this to your sister." "Just a day or two," I insist. "Sign now," Mom says, "or we'll tell everyone at the hospital how you're abandoning your responsibility. Your supervisor at Denver Memorial, your church friends, everyone will know." The threat hangs between us. They know exactly how I've built my life around what happened, how the hospital staff respects my dedication to my paralyzed sister, how the church community admires my sacrifice. "You wouldn't do that. Try us." Dad's voice drops dangerously low. "Pastor Miller thinks you're practically a saint. Imagine his disappointment." Nina still says nothing, her wheelchair positioned perfectly to form a barrier between me and my parents. I reach for the pen, fingers trembling, hold it above the signature line. My entire future condensed to a single stroke of ink. Then I place the pen down gently. "I'll talk to you tomorrow." Dad starts to speak, but I'm already standing, legs unsteady beneath me. In my bedroom, I lock the door and sink to the floor, back against the wall. My hands shake too violently to text. I scroll through my contacts, finding a name I haven't called in years. The phone rings 3 times before she answers. Nora? Evelyn sounds surprised. It's been forever. Are you okay? The concern in her voice breaks something loose inside me. Tears flow freely now as I struggle to explain. They want everything I have. My retirement, my paycheck. I don't know what to do. Slow down, Evelyn says, lawyer mode activating. Start at the beginning. Tell me exactly what happened. Between sobs, I explain the ambush, the papers, the threats. Evelyn listens without interruption, then asks the question that stops my breath. Nora, have you ever seen the actual police report from Nina's accident? No, I whisper, memories rearranging themselves like puzzle pieces. They handled everything. I was 16, devastated. They told me what happened. Silence stretches between us before I voice the thought forming in the darkest corner of my mind. What if it wasn't my fault after all? Oh. The coffee shop buzzes with quiet conversation, a sanctuary far from my parents' reach. 3 days since their ambush, and my hands still tremble holding the ceramic mug. Steam curls upward, disappearing like the life I thought I knew. Evelyn slides into the booth across from me, briefcase thudding against the wooden table. Gone is the college friend with wild curls and infectious laughter. This Evelyn wears a tailored charcoal suit, hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail, eyes sharp with purpose. You look terrible, she says, no cushioning. That's the Evelyn I remember. 12-hour shifts plus avoiding my family will do that. I attempt a smile that feels more like a grimace. Haven't been back to the house except to sleep since, you know. She unlatches her briefcase with twin clicks. I found the police report. The words hang between us like a physical thing. I stare at the manila folder she places on the table, its edges crisp and official, containing either my imprisonment or my freedom. How bad is it? My voice comes out small, childlike. Evelyn doesn't answer immediately. Instead, she opens the folder, turns it to face me. Read it yourself. The black type blurs before my eyes. Location of accident: Westridge Road in Maple, 3.8 miles from our neighborhood. Time: 3:42 p.m. Vehicle involved: 1,998 Honda motorcycle. Driver: Jason Miller, age 17. Passenger: Nina Reed, age 14. This can't be right. I flip through the pages, scanning witness statements. This says she was on a motorcycle with some boy, miles from where I fed the cats. Keep reading. Evelyn's voice remains steady. Witness testimony jumps out at me. Female passenger was laughing, arms wrapped around driver's waist. Motorcycle attempted to beat yellow light. Delivery truck had green signal when collision occurred, but they told me she missed her bus because I wasn't there. That she was trying to catch it at the next stop when my throat closes around the words. They lied, Nora. Evelyn's fingers cover mine, warm and solid. They lied about everything. The coffee shop walls seem to tilt and sway. 11 years of guilt. 11 years of sacrificed dreams, of working double shifts, of apologizing with every breath for a crime I never committed. Nina was joyriding with her secret boyfriend. Evelyn continues, voice low. Jason Miller, captain of the JV basketball team. Your parents forbade her from seeing him, remember? Too old, too wild. Memories resurface, Nina whispering on the phone late at night, mysterious text messages, sudden interest in basketball games. Details I'd forgotten, buried under years of atonement. Multiple witnesses confirmed it. Evelyn flips to another page. Nina skipped the bus entirely that day to meet Jason. They were heading to the lake when they ran the light. My stomach heaves. I bolt for the bathroom, barely making it before emptying my breakfast into the toilet. Cold sweat beads on my forehead as I rinse my mouth, staring at my reflection hollow-eyed, pale, a ghost formed of other people's lies. When I return, Evelyn has ordered me fresh tea. The police report waits, inexorable as Judgment Day. The hospital records, I whisper, lowering myself carefully into the booth, the ones I wasn't allowed to see because I was too emotional. They knew from the beginning, didn't they? Evelyn nods, her lawyer face on. I spoke with the nurse who was there when Nina was brought in. Your parents immediately started constructing the narrative. Right there in the trauma room, while doctors were working on Nina, Your father was already saying you were responsible. The betrayal carves through me, a physical pain radiating from my chest outward. Why would they do this to me? Money, initially, then control. Evelyn pulls out more documents. Your grandmother left you $20,000 when she died, remember? 3 months after Nina's accident, your parents borrowed it for emergency medical expenses, but Nina's care was covered by insurance. Another memory surfaces signing papers while crying in Nina's hospital room, Dad's hand heavy on my shoulder. For your sister's future, he'd said. They made me delay college. My voice sounds distant, foreign. Said Nina needed me at home for her recovery. I took night classes while working days, watching her between shifts. They were, and your nursing degree? Who chose that career path? The question hits like a slap. Mom said it made sense, that I'd be better equipped to care for Nina. Yet nurses make significantly less than the engineering career you originally planned. Evelyn slides another document forward. Your starting salary would have been nearly double what you make now. My mind races, recalculating 11 years of manipulation. The guilt trips when I mentioned moving out. The constant reminders about my responsibility. Nina's occasional tearful apologies that never made sense until now. They've been planning this formal agreement for months. I realized aloud. That's why they kept asking about my 401. Evelyn nods. Without this document, they have no legal basis for their demands. They're scared, Nora. Of what? Losing their cash cow? Bitterness rises like bile. That's part of it. Evelyn hesitates. I did some digging. Your parents are underwater financially, second mortgage, credit card debt, medical bills not covered by insurance. Your father lost his job 6 months ago. The revelation should soften my anger, but instead it hardens into something cold and precise. He never told me. All those church fundraisers, the respect he commands in the community, it's a facade. People do desperate things when they're afraid. Evelyn says. Your mother had an emotional breakdown at the church fundraiser last month. Pastor Miller thought it was about Nina's condition, but it was financial pressure. The pieces click together with terrible clarity. And Nina? Did she know? She had to, Evelyn confirms gently. She was 14, not 4. She remembers the accident. The betrayal from my sister cuts deepest of all. 11 years of silent complicity while watching me sacrifice everything. They're not cartoon villains, Evelyn cautions, reading my expression. They're genuinely scared of losing their home, unable to fund Nina's therapies without your income. Your mother truly believes Nina's future depends on your sacrifice. That doesn't make it right. My voice hardens. No, it doesn't. Evelyn closes the folder with finality. The good news is they have no case. The statute of limitations expired years ago. Even if Nina's accident had been your fault, which it absolutely wasn't, they have no legal standing to demand ongoing support. For the first time in days, I feel something like hope stirring. So what do? We gather more evidence. The police report is just the beginning. Evelyn ticks off points on her fingers. We need witness statements, Nina's ex, boyfriend's testimony, your Aunt Laura who overheard your parents at the hospital. Jason Miller still lives in Denver. I recall suddenly. He coaches basketball at Westridge High. Perfect. And I know someone else who can help. Evelyn pulls out her phone. Marcus Bennett, investigative journalist specializing in family frauds. He broke that story last year about the couple who faked their child's illness for donations. The magnitude of what we're planning finally hits me. This will destroy my family. Evelyn's gaze softens slightly. Your family destroyed itself the moment they decided to sacrifice your future for their convenience. But this isn't about revenge, Nora. It's about freedom, yours and Nina's. I stare at the police report, at the truth concealed for 11 years. Will Nina hate me for this? She might initially. Change is terrifying, especially for someone dependent on others. Evelyn reaches across the table, her hand warm over mine. But you don't have to face this alone anymore. You have me, Marcus, your aunt. People who want the truth. For the first time in 11 years, the weight on my shoulders lightens incrementally. The path ahead remains daunting, but no longer impossible. Okay, I say, straightening my spine. Let's do this. As we gather the documents, planning our next steps, I picture 16-year-old me sobbing at Nina's bedside, promising eternal care for a crime I never committed. That girl deserves justice as much as the woman I've become deserves freedom. We have the truth now. And truth, once uncovered, cannot be buried again. That same day, I located Jason Morgan's profile on social media, my finger hovering over the message button. His life appears perfectly ordinary wedding photos, with a brunette in a lace dress, 2 small children with his square jaw, a suburban home with white columns. Nothing suggests he carries the same burden I do. Are you sure about this? Evelyn asks, peering over my shoulder at the laptop screen. No, but what choice do I have? I click the button and type a simple message. Were you with Nina the day of her accident? My phone buzzes within minutes. A local number I don't recognize. Nora? It's Jason. I got your message. His voice sounds deeper than I remember, but with the same slight hesitancy. I've been waiting 11 years for this call. My heart hammers against my ribs. What do you mean? I've carried this guilt for years. His words rush out, unstoppable. Nina begged me not to tell anyone she was on my motorcycle. She wasn't wearing a helmet, said it would mess up her hair for the party that weekend. The world tilts beneath me. I grip the edge of the table to steady myself. Your parents showed up at the hospital while you were getting coffee. They told me if I ever mentioned the motorcycle, they'd press charges for endangering a minor. His voice cracks. I was 17, scared out of my mind. When they started telling everyone about the bus stop and the stray cats, I just went along with it. Why are you telling me now? My voice sounds strange to my own ears, because it's eating me alive. And my wife saw your message. She's been telling me for years I need to come clean. He pauses. Nina knows I'm calling you. We've stayed in touch. My sister knew. All this time, she knew. Will you sign a statement about what really happened? I ask. Already typing it up? I'll have it notarized tomorrow. After I hang up, Evelyn squeezes my shoulder. One more piece of evidence. Now let's call your Aunt Laura. Aunt Laura's testimony comes easily, too easily, as though she's been waiting for permission to unburden herself. I was bringing flowers to Nina's room when I overheard your parents in the hallway, she explains, her voice wavering. Your mother said, don't let anyone know she was with that boy. We'll say Nora was supposed to walk her to the bus. And your father answered, Nora's always been responsible. She'll accept it was her fault. Laura's voice breaks. I should have said something then. I'm so sorry, Nora. By Sunday afternoon, I have everything I need. I time my arrival for when Nina is at physical therapy with her weekend caregiver. The living room seems smaller somehow as I stand before my parents, police report clutched in my hand. Dad looks up from his newspaper, eyes narrowing at my expression. What's going on? I know the truth about the accident, I say, my voice steadier than I expected. It happened miles from the bus stop, on Jason's motorcycle. The color drains from Dad's face. His hands clench the armrests of his recliner, knuckles white. Mom recovers first. We were protecting Nina from scandal. You were old enough to handle the responsibility. She says it like it's reasonable, like destroying one daughter to protect another makes perfect sense. You made me believe I destroyed my sister's life. My voice doesn't rise, but something in it makes them both flinch. For 11 years, I've carried that guilt. Dad leans forward, desperate. It doesn't change your obligation to your sister. I never abandoned Nina, and I never will. The words come from someplace new inside me, a place that's been buried under years of manufactured guilt. But I'm not signing those papers. Not tomorrow, not ever. I turn and walk out, back straight, head high. The front door closes behind me with a quiet click that feels more final than any slam. Evelyn waits in her car at the curb, engine running. Her eyes widen when she sees me. You look 10 pounds lighter. The tears come then, sudden and overwhelming, not tears of pain but of release, as though my body is shedding years of accumulated poison. It worked. I manage between sobs. They admitted everything. This is just the beginning, Evelyn says, pulling away from the curb. We're going to set things right. My phone buzzes with a text from Aunt Laura. My guest room is ready whenever you need it. I should have spoken up years ago. Then Marcus calls with news. I've been looking into your parents' finances. There's evidence they've been using your contributions for their mortgage, not just Nina's care. This is exactly the kind of family fraud case that needs exposure. As we drive away from the house where I've been imprisoned by guilt for more than a decade, I watch it shrink in the side mirror. For the first time, I allow myself to wonder, do I push forward now, or give them time to come clean on their own? The answer forms clearly in my mind. No more time. No more lies. I need to talk to Nina when she gets home from therapy. My sister needs to know that I've discovered the truth, and that I don't blame her for staying silent all these years. We've both been victims in different ways. It's time for us both to be free. On Monday morning, I take a sip of cold coffee, grimacing at the bitter taste as I stare at the whiteboard in Evelyn's office. The timeline stretches across the entire wall, 11 years of manipulation mapped out in neat blue marker. Each sticky note represents a moment when my parents leveraged my guilt to extract money, time, or emotional support. We need to anticipate their next move, Evelyn says, capping her marker. Her crisp pantsuit and steady voice ground me as I try to process the magnitude of what we're uncovering. They won't just roll over now that you've confronted them with the police report. The fluorescent lights hum overhead as I nod, forcing myself to look at the board with clinical detachment. My nursing training kicks in, assess the situation, identify risks, develop a plan of action. Martin always counterattacks when cornered. I say, pointing to incidents in 2018 and 2021. Here, when I questioned why my inheritance from Grandma went to Nina's treatments, he told Pastor Miller I was becoming bitter about my Christian duty. And here, when I tried to move to my own apartment, he claimed Nina had a medical setback that required round-the-clock care. Marcus enters with a stack of manila folders, setting them on the conference table with a solid thump. His investigative journalist instincts have proven invaluable over the past week. You were right about the financial angle, he says, opening the top folder. I tracked your contributions against Nina's medical expenses for the past 5 years. Less than 40% of what you gave them actually went to her care. Number 9. My stomach tightens as I scan the spreadsheets. Where did the rest go? Mortgage payments, credit card bills, a fishing boat purchased 3 years ago. Marcus taps a highlighted section. And this is interesting, they've been making payments to a vacation timeshare in Florida since 2020. The betrayal stings fresh, but I push the emotion away. This isn't about hurt feelings anymore. It's about systematic fraud. We're building this case exactly like we would for a patient safety investigation. I tell them, falling back on familiar professional territory, documentation, pattern recognition, witness statements. Evelyn nods approvingly. That's exactly right. Emotional confrontations won't work with manipulators this skilled. We need to dismantle their control systematically. Over the next few hours, we organize our evidence with military precision. Jason's written account of the accident, and the threats my parents made afterward. Financial records showing the pattern of misappropriation. Medical records revealing treatments that were billed but never happened. I feel a strange calm settling over me as we work. For years, I've approached my family situation with guilt and fear. Now I'm analyzing it with the same clear-eyed focus I bring to complicated patient cases. Marcus taps his pen against the table. The insurance angle is particularly concerning. There are several claims filed for Nina's equipment that never materialized. That crosses into potential fraud territory. I've spoken with 3 of your colleagues at Denver Memorial, Evelyn adds. They've provided statements about your exhaustion from carrying this double burden. Dr. Harriman was particularly supportive, said he's watched you fall asleep, standing up during 12-hour shifts after being up all night with Nina. The office phone rings, startling us. Evelyn answers, her expression shifting as she listens. Yes, she's here. I see. We'll review it immediately. She hangs up and turns to me. Your parents have hired Patricia Lambert. The family support attorney? Marcus frowns. That's a serious escalation. Evelyn nods grimly. My assistant just received a formal demand letter. They're citing moral obligation and threatening to petition for guardianship of Nina if you don't comply with their financial demands. My hands begin to shake, the first crack in my professional detachment. Patricia Lambert has a reputation for aggressive litigation in family support cases. The thought of a legal battle sends panic coursing through me. Can they do that? Take guardianship of Nina? No, Evelyn says firmly. But they're counting on your fear to make you fold. Legal fees alone could drain what savings you have left. Marcus studies my face. You okay? I take a deep breath, steadying myself. The initial shock recedes, replaced by a surprising clarity. They're trying to scare me because they know I have the truth. I look between my allies, determination hardening inside me. How far are they willing to go to maintain this lie? The answer hangs unspoken in the air between us. My parents have spent 11 years constructing an elaborate deception. They've manipulated our entire community. They've stolen my money, my time, my peace. They won't surrender easily, but neither will I. 3 days after gathering more evidence, I spread the documents across Evelyn's polished mahogany conference table, each piece of evidence meticulously labeled and organized in chronological order. The police report sits at the center, its official letterhead a stark reminder of the truth I was never allowed to see. "This is everything?" Evelyn asks, reviewing our preparation checklist. "Every scrap of evidence from the last 11 years. I adjust my reading glasses, still unaccustomed to their weight after years of neglecting my vision for more pressing concerns. These are the new documents, plus the old ones that we found, including Jason's sworn statement about the motorcycle accident, Nina's medical records showing treatments that never happened, and bank statements tracking where my money actually went." Marcus enters with a thick manila folder. His investigative journalist precision has proven invaluable over these weeks of preparation. "I found something." He places a document on the table. "Your parents applied for a second mortgage 6 months ago, using your signature." My stomach clenches. I never signed anything. "Exactly." He points to the signature line. "It's a forgery. The bank's forensic document examiner confirmed it yesterday." Evelyn nods, adding the document to our evidence binder. This moves beyond emotional manipulation into criminal territory. I study the forged signature, recognizing Dad's distinctive pressure points. Even his forgeries bear the imprint of his controlling nature. "I've filed the restraining order against your parents." Evelyn continues. "That should prevent further harassment while we complete our preparations." The whiteboard behind her displays our timeline: 11 years of systematic manipulation, reduced to bullet points and arrows. Something about seeing it visualized this way strips away the emotional haze that clouded my judgment for so long. Nina's medical records were the final piece, I say, tapping a folder containing documents from 3 different specialists. Half the treatments they claimed my money paid for never happened. The physical therapy center has no record of the intensive sessions they described at church fundraisers. Marcus whistles softly. "This isn't just a family squabble anymore. It's financial fraud." "We're not just exposing a lie," I say, my voice steadier than I expected. "We're dismantling a decade of fraud." For my another way. My phone vibrates against the table. Hospital administration. I hesitate before answering. Nora Reed speaking. "Miss Reed, this is Melissa from HR. Your immediate presence is requested regarding serious allegations about your professional conduct." Ice spreads through my chest. "What allegations?" "Your father called our ethics hotline this morning. He claims you've been stealing prescription medications to sell for personal profit." The accusation steals my breath. I place the phone on speaker so Evelyn and Marcus can hear. "I'll be there in 30 minutes. I manage, ending the call. "They're escalating," Evelyn says, already gathering documents. "They discovered our investigation and they're striking at your most vulnerable point." My career. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. Everything I've worked for. Marcus shakes his head. "It's a desperate move. They're hoping you'll back down to protect your reputation." I need to address this immediately. I stand, gathering my credentials and professional portfolio. The hospital has cameras in all medication areas. The accusation will fall apart under scrutiny. "I'll come with you," Evelyn offers, "as your attorney." 2 hours later, I sit across from my supervisor, Janet, while hospital security reviews medication access logs. The tension in my shoulders eases as Janet studies the documentation. "These allegations have no merit," she concludes, closing the file. "Your dispensing record is impeccable, Nora. I'm sorry you're going through this family situation." In the parking lot afterward, Evelyn squeezes my hand. "You handled that perfectly. Professional, composed, nothing like the panicked reaction your parents expected." "Should I confront them now?" I ask, watching the afternoon sun glint off hospital windows. "Or wait until our case is airtight?" Back at Evelyn's office the following morning, we convene for our final strategy session. The evidence binders stand ready, each document tagged and indexed. Marcus has assembled a multimedia presentation displaying the timeline of manipulation. "I've contacted everyone who witnessed their manipulation over the years," Marcus reports. "Former neighbors, church members, even Nina's doctors who received conflicting stories about her care." The financial evidence alone is enough to shut them down completely, Evelyn adds. The forged mortgage application gives us significant leverage. I study the assembled materials, the culmination of weeks of methodical work. The transformation feels almost physical, the constant weight of guilt replaced by clarity of purpose. We're ready, I say, my voice steady. It's time to end this. On Wednesday next week, doorbell chimes, pulling me from my thoughts as I smooth the wrinkles from my navy slacks. My phone buzzes with a text from Evelyn. We're in position. Stay calm. These past weeks have felt like training for battle, gathering evidence, building legal arguments, documenting years of manipulation. Now, standing in my childhood living room, watching relatives file in with solemn expressions, I realize no amount of preparation could prepare me for this. Mom gestures everyone toward the dining room, transformed into what can only be described as a tribunal. Extra chairs circle our oak table, each position set with a water glass and notepad like some twisted board meeting. Dad stands at the head, shoulders squared in his Sunday suit. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. He begins, voice carrying the practiced sincerity that once fooled me too. This is difficult, but family matters require family solutions. I scan the faces Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia, Mom's sister Grace, two elders from church, Pastor Miller with his Bible placed precisely before him, and a silver-haired man in an expensive suit who must be their attorney. Nina sits in her usual spot, eyes fixed on her folded hands. Dad continues while Mom distributes stapled packets. For those who don't know, Nora has been responsible for Nina's care since the accident 11 years ago. Recently, she's decided to abandon that responsibility. The accusation lands like a physical blow, exactly as intended. Shocked murmurs ripple through the room. That's not what's happening, I interject, but Dad raises his hand. Please, let me finish. His voice drops, thick with manufactured emotion. We've covered Nina's expenses as best we could, but Martin's health issues have made working full-time impossible. First lie, he was fired for poor performance. Mom takes over seamlessly, opening a binder of medical bills. These are just from the past 6 months. Without Nora's contribution, Nina's physical therapy will stop entirely. Second lie, insurance covers most of those therapies. Nora makes $70,000 a year as a nurse. Dad adds, eyes glistening with tears that appear on command. We're only asking for $2,000 monthly. She has retirement savings she could access for the initial care fund. Uncle Robert turns to me, confusion and disappointment etched across his face. How could you do this to your sister? The room feels suddenly airless, walls closing in as each relative absorbs the carefully crafted narrative. Pastor Miller clears his throat, his expression grave. Perhaps Christian mediation would help resolve this. Nora, your sister needs you. Surely we can come to an arrangement that honors your family obligations? The attorney slides papers toward the empty space before me. I've drawn up a simple caregiver agreement. Once signed, we can ensure Nina's needs are met properly. Every eye turns expectantly toward me. This is exactly what they wanted. Public pressure, moral judgment, the weight of community expectation forcing my compliance. Nina remains silent, her continued muteness interpreted as confirmation of their story. My phone vibrates again in my pocket, the signal we arranged. I rise slowly, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounds. Before anyone signs anything, I'd like to introduce someone. On cue, the doorbell rings. Mom frowns, clearly annoyed at the interruption of their perfectly orchestrated intervention. Who could that be? She asks, suspicion edging her tone. My attorney. I answer simply, watching her face pale. And a journalist who's been helping me investigate what really happened 11 years ago. Dad's hand tightens around his pen. This is a private family matter. It stopped being private when you invited the church elders and your lawyer. I walk to the front door without waiting for permission. Evelyn enters first, every inch the professional in her charcoal suit, followed by Marcus with his recorder and press credentials visible. Behind them, Aunt Laura steps in, Mom's youngest sister, who worked at the hospital when Nina was admitted. What is she doing here? Mom demands, rising from her seat. Supporting the truth, Aunt Laura replies, moving to stand beside me. Pastor Miller looks bewildered as Evelyn introduces herself. I'm Evelyn Carter, representing Nora Reed. I understand you've been discussing a caregiving agreement under false pretenses. This is absurd, Dad sputters, his practiced composure cracking. Nina has been paralyzed for 11 years because Nora failed to walk her to the bus. Everyone here knows the story. That's the story you told. I correct him, feeling strangely calm now that the moment has arrived. But it's not what happened, is it, Dad? Marcus sets up his recorder at the table's edge. Martin and Diane Reed. I'm Marcus Bennett with the Denver Chronicle. I've been investigating your financial arrangements regarding your daughter's care. Mom's face contorts with fury. How dare you bring strangers into our home to attack us? After everything we've done for Nina. After everything you've done? The words escape me as a harsh laugh. You've spent 11 years making me believe I destroyed my sister's life. You took my college fund, my inheritance from Grandma, and half my paycheck every month while telling me it was my responsibility. The room falls silent, relatives exchanging uncomfortable glances. Pastor Miller leans forward, uncertainty replacing his earlier confidence. Nora, these are serious accusations. Yes, they are. I turn to face the assembled family. Before anyone signs anything, there's something you all need to see. Evelyn opens her briefcase, removing manila folders for each person present. I catch Nina's eye across the table, seeing fear, and something else, perhaps relief. Nina, I say softly, after 11 years, don't you think it's time for the truth? Tears fill her eyes as she looks up, her fingers white-knuckled around the wheels of her chair. The folder before her contains what the others don't, photographs of her with Jason on his motorcycle, taken the morning of the accident. I've carried this for so long, she whispers, barely audible. Evelyn places the final folder in front of Pastor Miller. The police report, witness statements, and financial records documenting 11 years of systematic fraud. The accident happened 3.8 miles from the bus stop, on a motorcycle with Nina's boyfriend against her parents' rules. Uncle Robert opens his folder, color draining from his face as he scans the documents. This says the accident had nothing to do with missing the bus. Nothing whatsoever, I confirm, watching my parents' carefully constructed world begin to crumble. They lied to everyone, including me, from the moment Nina arrived at the hospital. Aunt Laura speaks up, her voice trembling slightly. I was there that day. I overheard Martin telling Diane to make sure no one knew Nina was with that boy on the motorcycle. They created the bus stop story before Nina even went into surgery. Pastor Miller turns to my father, shock evident in his expression. Is this true, Martin? The silence stretches, thick and suffocating, as the assembled family members turn to my parents, waiting for a denial that doesn't come. My mother's lips press into a thin, bloodless line. My father's jaw works soundlessly, his carefully constructed persona shattering under the weight of documented truth. Nina's voice breaks the silence, small but growing stronger with each word. I skipped the bus to ride with Jason. Mom and Dad always said Nora would be blamed because she was supposed to be watching me. Her eyes meet mine across the table. I let them do this to you. For 11 years, I stayed silent. The tears I've been holding back threatened to fall, but I blink them away. This isn't over yet. I'm sorry, Nina. I reach toward her, not quite touching. I would have helped you anyway. You never needed to lie. We all need to review these documents carefully, Pastor Miller says, his earlier certainty replaced by grave concern. Marcus steps forward, recorder in hand. I'd like to ask a few questions about the church fund that was established for Nina's treatments. The atmosphere in the room shifts palpably, fear giving way to the first stirrings of accountability. My parents, once so confident in their manipulation, now sit frozen as their elaborate construction begins its inevitable collapse. I remain standing, supported by allies who helped me uncover the truth, finally ready for whatever comes next. I stayed quiet out of shame. Nina bursts into tears, her tears streaming freely now. I begged Jason not to tell anyone. I was 14 and scared of getting in trouble. Her hands grip the wheels of her chair as she moves closer to the center of the room. When Mom and Dad blamed Nora, I was too terrified to contradict them. And then it just continued, year after year. Her voice breaks. I let you carry this burden for 11 years. I'm sorry. The transformation in the room is immediate and complete. Uncle Robert's face hardens as he looks at my father. Aunt Sarah moves to sit beside me, her hand finding mine. Pastor Miller closes his Bible with a soft thud. This betrayal goes against everything our community stands for. Pastor Miller says, standing to face my parents, you've manipulated not only your daughters but our entire church family. Church elder Mr. Peterson rises from his seat. The church fund was meant for Nina's treatments, not your mortgage. My parents shrink into themselves as the room turns against them. The power that once allowed them to control my life through guilt and manipulation evaporates in minutes. Marcus captures everything on his recorder. I have everything I need for a comprehensive story about family fraud. He says quietly to me. I never abandoned you, Nina, I say, moving to kneel beside her wheelchair. I just couldn't live with the lies anymore. Nina reaches for my hand, gripping it tightly. I knew it was wrong but was too scared to speak up. Can you ever forgive me? I pull her into a hug, feeling her shoulders shake with sobs. There's nothing to forgive. We were both victims here. Elder Peterson clears his throat. The church board will need to investigate the potential misuse of donated funds. Evelyn steps forward. And I should clarify for everyone present, Nora has no legal obligation to provide financial support for Nina, and never did. Pastor Miller nods solemnly. Moving forward, the church will ensure proper oversight of any support for Nina's care. My parents stand together, isolated in a room full of people who now see them clearly for the first time. Mom reaches for her purse, Dad for his keys, silent acknowledgement of their defeat. I think we're done here, Dad says flatly. No one stops them as they move toward the door. No one offers goodbyes. As the door closes behind them, I remain beside Nina, our hands still clasped together. The weight of 11 years lifts from my shoulders, leaving me lighter than I've felt since I was 16 years old. In the silence that follows their departure, Nina squeezes my hand. What happens now? She whispers. I look around at the people who stood with me today, Evelyn with her legal brilliance, Marcus with his investigative skills, Aunt Laura with her belated but crucial truth, Pastor Miller with his moral clarity. Now, I tell her, we start over. With the truth. The sunlight streaming through the window catches Nina's tears, but for the first time in 11 years, they shine not with guilt or shame, but with hope. 3 weeks after the confrontation, I unlock the door to Nina's new apartment, pushing it wide as she wheels herself across the threshold. Sunlight streams through uncovered windows, painting golden rectangles on the hardwood floors. The space is modest but completely accessible, lowered countertops, roll-under sink, wide doorways, and a bathroom large enough for her wheelchair to turn around comfortably. Is this really mine? Nina's voice carries a wonder I haven't heard since we were teenagers. All yours. I set down the box I'm carrying. The insurance settlement covered the first year's rent plus the accessibility modifications. No more asking permission to adjust your living space. Nina wheels herself through the apartment, running her hand along the countertops. Her shoulders have straightened in recent days, the perpetual curve of apology gradually disappearing. Dad called me again last night, she says, stopping at the window overlooking a small community garden. He sounds desperate. They should be worried. I unpack dishes into low cabinets. Pastor Miller told me the church board started an investigation into the misused funds. And that's not counting the insurance fraud charges. Nina nods, a complicated mixture of emotions crossing her face. 11 years of lies unraveling in 2 weeks. My phone buzzes with a text from Evelyn. Financial guardianship papers approved. All Nina's benefits will be properly managed now. I show Nina the message. No more intercepted checks or diverted funds. She smiles, then wheels to the couch where I join her. Have you been sleeping? The question catches me off guard. Actually, yes. For the first time in forever. Last night I slept 8 uninterrupted hours without guilt-laden dreams of Nina falling or crying out for help. How about you? I keep waking up thinking I need to call them, then remembering I don't have to report to anyone anymore. She adjusts her position. Yesterday I applied for those disability benefits they always said I wouldn't qualify for. The ones they told you required my support to receive? Exactly those. She laughs, a sound I'd almost forgotten. Turns out I've been eligible for a decade. I open another box marked kitchen and begin sorting through utensils. I enrolled in the nurse practitioner program. Nina's eyes widen. The one you've talked about for years? Starting next semester. Without $2,000 leaving my account every month, I can actually afford tuition and a small apartment near campus. The golden afternoon light shifts as we continue unpacking. 3 nurses from my unit arrive with dinner and more boxes. Marcia, the charge nurse, who has watched me stumble through exhausted shifts for years, hugs me fiercely. We've started a rotating schedule to help Nina with anything she needs while you're in class, she says. The entire unit signed up. Nina accepts their embrace with tears in her eyes. I never knew how many people cared. After they leave, we sit together on her new patio as evening settles around us. Crickets chirp from the community garden below. Nina's apartment feels nothing like our parents' house. No heaviness, no walking on eggshells, no constant reminders of obligation. For years I thought caring meant carrying everyone's burdens. I say, watching a hummingbird dart among the potted flowers Marcia brought. Now I see it means helping people stand on their own. Nina reaches for my hand. I should have told you the truth years ago. We were both trapped in different ways. 6 months later, I stand before the whiteboard in Denver Memorial's Trauma Center, leading orientation for new nurses. My scrubs are the same blue, but everything else has changed. My small apartment near campus is filled with plants and books. My student loans are on a manageable repayment plan. Most importantly, the weight crushing my chest for 11 years has lifted. Remember, I tell the wide-eyed nurses, your first responsibility is to advocate for your patients. Sometimes that means standing up to family members who claim to know what's best. And, after my shift, I drive to Nina's apartment for our weekly dinner. She's mastered cooking from her wheelchair, and the smell of lasagna greets me at the door. How's the online program going? I ask, setting my bag down. 3 A's so far. Pride colors her voice. The disability advocacy course is my favorite. I'm helping 2 families navigate the system our parents exploited. We eat at her accessible table, discussing future plans rather than past mistakes. When she mentions our parents' latest attempt at reconciliation, I don't feel the usual twist of anxiety. I told them the same thing I always do. I say, I'll consider a relationship when they take full responsibility and make amends to the people they hurt. Nina nods. They're still talking about family obligation and forgiveness without acknowledging what they did. Their choice. I take another bite of lasagna. I don't need anyone's permission to create my own life anymore. On the 1-year anniversary of the confrontation, Nina and I drive to the city park where I used to feed stray cats as a teenager. The autumn leaves crunch under her wheelchair as I push her along the path to the small clearing where the feeding station once stood. Remember when I couldn't even look at cats without feeling guilty? I ask, helping her navigate a bumpy section of trail. Nina laughs. And now we're building a support network for families dealing with spinal cord injuries. The Reed Sisters Foundation launched last month with funding from a settlement with our parents' insurance company. We've already helped 3 families navigate medical systems without financial exploitation, providing grants for accessibility modifications and legal support to protect vulnerable patients. Later that evening, we attend Nina's physical therapy milestone celebration. She demonstrates her improved upper body strength by transferring from wheelchair to treatment table without assistance, earning applause from the gathered therapists and fellow patients. When asked to say a few words, Nina wheels to the center of the room. The heaviest burden wasn't my paralysis, she tells the group, her voice steady and clear. It was the lies. Watching her speak with such confidence, I feel a sense of completion. The truth hasn't just set us free, it's shown us who was really there for us all along. Not the parents who claimed exclusive rights to our loyalty, but the community that rallied around us when we finally spoke our truth. As we leave the celebration, Nina asks, do you ever wonder what would have happened if Evelyn hadn't asked about the police report? I consider this as we head toward the car. I think the truth would have found its way out eventually. It was too big to stay buried forever. What would you do if you discovered a family member had been lying to you for years? Would you confront them directly or gather evidence first?